If your SNOO is grinding, vibrating, or struggling to sway, even after replacing the O-rings, the motor bearings are likely worn out. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to replace them the right way, without damaging the windings, stripping the set screws, or worrying about which bearing size to order. So this video assumes the motor has already been removed from the unit. If you haven't gotten to that point yet, check out my full teardown video linked below. I'll walk through the entire disassembly and motor removal process, step by step. Today we're focusing specifically on replacing the motor bearings. So let's fix it. So for this job you'll need a few tools, including a smooth-faced hammer, a small punch, and a true 1.5mm Allen key. You want a straight cut, not a ball end. For the punch, I'm just using a small nail punch from the hardware store. You can usually grab a set for under $10. Harbor Freight sells a 3-pack for around $5. Nothing fancy is required. For the Allen key, make sure it's a true 1.5mm metric key. Do not use a 1/16 inch key. Also, you'll want to avoid ball end Allen keys since they're much more likely to strip the small set screws. A proper straight cut 1.5mm key fits tightly and removes them cleanly. The complete repair kit includes one, but any proper 1.5mm straight cut key will work. If yours feels unusually tight when you're loosening them, you can warm the area with a hairdryer for about 20 to 30 seconds to help soften any thread locker before loosening. Most people won't need to do this, but it can help if needed. So before we open the motor, let's clarify exactly what a bad bearing feels like. When you spin the motor by hand, you should feel slight magnetic resistance. That's completely normal. It should feel a little jerky because of the magnets, but it should not grind, scrape, or feel gritty. Grinding, roughness, vibration that persists after replacing the O-rings, or visible metal shavings are a strong indicator that bearings are worn out. So now we'll begin. So first, remove the motor O-rings. There should be 3 O-rings on the motor shaft. If you don't see all 3, that usually means 1 or more have disintegrated and broke off over time, which is very common. So next, you'll remove the dust washer if you have one. This is what it looks like. Some older SNOO units did not originally come with a dust washer, including this one. But if you purchase the complete repair kit, it includes a new dust washer that you can install during reassembly. If you purchase bearings only, you can simply reuse your old washer if your unit has one. So now we'll flip the motor over. You'll see 2 1.5mm set screws on opposite sides of the housing. So using your straight cut 1.5mm Allen key, you want to loosen both set screws until they're flush with the housing. Don't remove them completely, just loosen them enough so that the shaft can slide out. If the key feels like it's slipping, you want to stop and confirm that your Allen key is seated all the way. That you're using a 1.5mm straight cut, no ball end. I know I keep emphasizing it, but it is very important. So that one was pretty easy. Sometimes they can be a little tough. And again, you can use a hairdryer. Before you turn, make sure that it's fully seated in the screw. It can be tough sometimes. So now we'll take a deep socket or anything with a hollow center and place it on the table. You want to set the motor upside down so the shaft is somewhere to move downwards. So next we'll grab our nail punch and hammer. And we'll want to apply the nail punch right to the center of the motor, that silver shaft there. So using your nail punch, you just want to tap it a couple times. until the shaft comes out. You don't need excessive force, just steady taps will drive it out. There's our shaft. As you can see, there's a lot of metal in there, and that bearing is just completely disintegrated. So now that we have the shaft removed, we'll remove the bottom housing. It's held in place with strong magnets, so maintain control and don't let it snap back into place. Just want to pull apart to separate it. So you can see it's full of metal shavings. So now we would remove the bearings. I like to start with the top bearing, which is this one. So what I would do is I would flip the motor upside down and use my punch to punch the bearing out. But since it came out on its own with how damaged it was, we don't have to worry about this one. And it makes the process just a little bit easier. And then next we'll want to take out the bottom bearing, stick our punch in here, and stick the punch at an angle, so that way you're hitting the bearing. If you don't have a punch, you can always use a small screwdriver as well. So just stick that in there, just tap it with the hammer a little bit. I want to do it in like a star pattern, and just evenly go around. So now our bearing came out. This one is in a much better condition compared to the top one, which makes sense because all that O-ring dust over time deteriorates with that rubber and gets into the top bearing and not so much in the bottom bearing. So at this point, you want to inspect everything carefully. You want to clean out any metal debris, especially around this magnet housing. And then also, you might want to use compressed air to blow out any debris inside the motor. So the next step is installing the new bearings. Now we'll install the new bearings. So both the complete repair kit and the bearings only set include 4 bearings, 2 that fit your shaft and 2 that don't. The outer diameters are the same for both motor variations, but the inner diameter varies. So you want to test fit your shaft into the bearings to determine which pair is correct for your motor. So we'll start by installing the bottom bearing first, which is the smaller bearing. So you'll want to just line it up and then push it in evenly until it's seated. So now take one of the extra bearings that does not fit your shaft, specifically the one with the larger outer diameter, and place it on top of the installed bearing. We're going to use that extra bearing as a driver and tap it with a hammer to drive the bottom bearing flush. This allows you to apply force safely to the outer race without risking damage to the inner shield, and also protects the motor windings. So you want to only apply pressure to that outer metal ring on the bearing and don't line it up with the inner shield. It'll be pretty tough to mess up using this method, but just one thing to think about. So once the bottom bearing is fully seated and flush, we'll reinstall the bottom housing. This step is important because it provides protection to the windings while installing the top bearing. Carefully lower the housing back into place, controlling the magnetic pole as it seats. Just like that. So now we'll install the top bearing. I want to start it again by hand. Push it in evenly as far as we can. Then gently tap it with a hammer on the outer race until it is fully seated. So next we'll insert the shaft back through both bearings. So once you have the shaft through both bearings, you may need to adjust the housing to align everything properly. So lightly tap the shaft until it's flush with the bottom of the housing, but do not allow it to extend past the housing. I also like to lightly tap the bottom of the edge of the housing to make sure it's all flush. So a quick check I like to do is sliding a piece of paper between the housing to make sure that there's no rubbing. So now we'll tighten the set screws. So half of the shaft has a flat edge. I like to snug the first set screw down gently, then back it off a few turns, then snug the opposite side, and then after that return and snug the first side. This helps align the shaft onto this flat edge. So if it's tightened, I just like to back it off. Do the same thing on the other side, tighten it down all the way. Okay, then we'll go back to the first side and tighten that down all the way. So I like to tighten using the long end of the Allen key. And I give it just a slight nudge using the short end for a little bit of extra leverage. Definitely do not over tighten these as they are very small. So finally, you want to install 3 new motor O-rings. I recommend using peroxide cured EPDM, which resists drying and shredding debris over time. If your older unit didn't originally have a dust washer, but you have one available now, you can install it now before finishing. So spin the motor by hand by holding the top section here with your left hand and spinning the right side. You should feel smooth movement, only slight magnetic resistance. There should be no grinding, no scraping, and no roughness. So now your motor is ready to reinstall. If you're looking for instructions on reinstalling the motor into the SNOO and completing the full reassembly, check out my full teardown video and reassembly video linked here on the screen. Thanks for watching.